Hello everyone, this is Tanya here from EduTV. I welcome you all to our program It's a Matter of Principles. And today we have with us Dr. Ameeta Mulla Wattal, the chairperson and the executive director, education of the DLF Foundation Schools. Welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you
And the
very much.
host, the host for the session for today is Mr. Chetan Mahe. Mr. Chetan will be taking up a session, an interaction with Dr. Ameeta Mulla Wattal in terms of the transition phase from schools to universities, primarily focusing on what steps or rather what advice ma'am has for those students who are going to be writing their board examination this year. Over to you, Chetan ji.
Namaskar, ma'am. Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to It's a Matter of Principles on EduTV. I'm your host, Mr. Chetan, and I am delighted to have you join us as we delve into crucial topics such as offering advice to students gearing up for their board examinations in 2025 and ensuring a smooth transition from schools to university. So EduTV is dedicated to speaking insightful conversations around education, sharing innovative ideas, and inspiring change in our academic communities. With more than 1 million eyeballs, uh, across 28 countries, we are proud to connect educators, thought leaders, and policymakers, creating a vibrant platform for learning and growth. It's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished guest, Dr. Ameeta Mulla Wattal, Chairperson and Executive Director of Education at DLF Foundation Schools. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Chetanji. Thank you so much.
With her extensive experience and visionary approach, Dr. Ameeta has been at the forefront of educational transformation, nurturing environment that foster holistic development. Her groundbreaking initiatives and strategies insights have played a pivotal role in shaping progressive education strategies. And today, she is here to share valuable advice that will guide our students through their board examinations and their journey in for higher education. So welcome, ma'am. So, Dr. Amita, with the evolving education landscape, nowadays students are like very much stressed for their future. They are very much stressed for preparation for the board examinations. I was also one of them. So, what are the key challenges you foresee for students in their board examinations in 2025? And what strategies would you recommend for effective preparation?
Thank you for that, Chetanji. I think these are questions that every other educator would be asked over the next month and a half, 2 months when the boards are going on. There are over 44 lakh children who are right now intensively involved in getting prepared for the board examination. I think it's not really about the challenge that the boards will give them. I mean, they've studied, they have to go ahead and give a national exam because that's the natural transition from school to college. But what should really they should be focusing on is, creating a well-structured study plan, prioritizing, for example, past paper practices, um, you know, mastering time management in the way they, particularly during the exams and even before the exams while they're going to give it, using smart study techniques. There are several techniques of smart study, enhancing their emotional strengths, because sometimes you crack up because you feel there's a burnout, you don't remember anything. To develop strength and resilience. And that's very important, and develop a mental balance for things like this, because this is very natural when you tend to go overboard and you're so stressed out with so many coachings and so on. You tend to start feeling I don't know anything. But that's when your emotional and your mental strength comes into place. And the most important thing is maintaining a healthy lifestyle, because you see, after all, it's about eating right, it's about how you a daily kind of diet, what do you do, and so on. And it's also about leveraging parental and community and teacher support. So you need to have the parental support. You can't disengage with the parents, you can't disengage with your teachers. Complete disengagement is not correct. So you have to constantly also stay active during the breaks. When you have breaks, at that point of time, instead of, it's important that you go for a walk, or you do something that distracts you, calms you down a bit. And I think the most important today, which is a challenge for young people, is to avoid digital distractions at this point. Because if all the time you're waiting for a ping, or you're waiting for somebody to send you a message on WhatsApp, or you're looking at something on Insta, it takes a while for the mind to stabilize before you go back again to your study. So I think that's very, very important. And
Absolutely, ma'am.
also,
I'm
yes,
just adding to this, ma'am, because you just moved from the traditional learning system towards the digital one. So I'm just adding a few points to for the digital for your views in this,
yeah,
because extensive screen time is also deviating students from the retention of topics, from distraction from their study routines. So, what advice would you like to add to make sure that these addictions will also be? Because see, if we ask any student to leave mobile phone immediately, will definitely not going to help neither him neither us, because he will some way somehow will get distracted and will be attracted towards the digital activity. So, what suggestions would you like? How smoothly they can move out from this? Digital addictions towards and focus their studies.
I think when you're giving the boards, the first 12 to 30-day program you have to create just before the board. So it's important that within this 30-day program that you create, it's important for you to create a kind of, a balanced table, a timetable, where you think how much are you going to study, and what is the kind of time you're going to invest in a digital device. So I think that's very essential. So if you have a study time, say about you're studying in the early hours of the morning, then you should ensure that at that point of time, you need not get into your digital devices. You should put them away. The point when you give for studies, at that point, your telephone should not be with you. It should be away. Your mobile should be with your parents, or it should be in another room. It should not be in your space. So I think one important point is, do not keep your mobile in your space of study while you are studying, right? So if you've told yourself that I'm going to be working on my physics for about an hour and a half, giving my paper and maybe doing a bit of a review and structure on it, then put your mobile away in the next room, because then you unlock yourself and do your work. Then you can always, when you take a short break, you can go and check your mobile. You can have a look. You can do your little bit or whatever you want to do, and then again put your mobile away. Give yourself a 5-minute break before you get back. So between the usage of the mobile and coming back to study again, you should again have a break of 5 to 10 minutes so your mind calms down. Because mobile phones and electronic devices rev up your mind. The DNA gets wired differently. So there needs to be, you can go directly from going from study into your mobile, but from mobile back to study, 5 minutes, put away your mobile, put away your study, just calm down, and then get back into the study mode. So I think you have to really create a planner for yourself, that if I'm going to spend 16 hours of the day study, what are the breaks I'm going to do? Are the short breaks going to be mobile short breaks? Are they going to be breathing short breaks? Are they going to be eating short breaks? So you have to prioritize it, because every short break need not be a mobile break.
Absolutely, absolutely. So being in just putting one point of view from the as a parent side. So there is a very common argument, or very popular common argument from the students, because as of now schools also are digitalized, and many of schools encourage students to do their research or do their additional learning from the social medias and all. So student used to say, just we are looking for, like, it's completely a self-discipline activity, but still they say, we are looking for certain additional information from social media. So that's the reason why I'm using this device. So how parents can, what your suggestion, parents should allow these things, or they should guide students that at this moment of time you should not go for the additional information, you should stick whatever you have already learned and prepare yourself for the in a better way for the board examination. So what's your views, ma'am, for the parents and parent
Yeah.
advice?
So thank you, Chetan, for that. But what I want to say categorically is that if in the last 20 days, if you're looking for additional information, you're surely not ready for the board.
Absolutely.
Because whatever additional information is, you should have got much before. In fact, before the pre-boards, you would have got the additional information. And you should be ready subject-wise in whatever you're wanting to do. So whatever add-ons you needed should have been done before the pre-board. Or maybe after the pre-board result is over and the teacher gives you a feedback that, your pre-board could have been better, etc., etc. Maybe you could have inserted that. Maybe then you can have. But I don't think that when you study the 15, 20 days, 1 month that you get before the final exams and the pre-board, you should be looking around and scrolling for additional information. It's just going to clutter up your mind. It's going to just confuse you. So please do not get involved with additional information business. There is no additional information. At the end of the day, board examinations are not rocket science.
Correct.
They are very set in their ways. The questions are very set in their ways, at least in grades 12 and in grades 10. They are basic questions which are catering, unfortunately, still directly to the text. There are also questions in which, you've sort of, what shall I say, you've already done them, you worked on them, you've talked endlessly about them. It's not as though suddenly some new thing comes up. Even if it comes back, it's going to be directly related to a case study that you've done or some other work that you've done. So I think this business of, taking this as a ploy to use a mobile or a device is incorrect. The only reason why you will be using your mobile or electronic device is probably to give yourself a break and see information or see what your friend is doing or have a chat or maybe just listen to a song with a video or something like that or put something on Insta or look at Insta. I don't think anybody right now is looking at added information. They should not.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. So I'm just moving from this digital transition towards the role of an educator or a school. So what step can schools take to ensure a smoother transition for students, and how can educators support this shift to prepare them for the challenges of life?
See, the schools, it's not about taking the step today, because schools have been preparing children for, it's been a 14-year dialogue from the time they entered. So the preparation is an ongoing preparation that has been taking place in the life of a child during his time in school. There's a different preparation has happened in grade 3, a different one in 6, a different one in 9, depending upon the maturity levels and the maturity tools that are being used, the strategies that schools use. And all schools, all progressive good schools, are ensuring that children are understanding the 21st century skilling. They're doing it through activities, they're doing it through conversations, through dialogues, through debates, through programs, through seminars, through children attending Olympiads. I mean, every school is doing whatever it takes to see that children are able to step into adulthood and step into it with the collaborative tools of the 21st century, which are essentially decision-making tools, which are essentially tools where you can take action, where you have a critical mind, where you can reflect, where you can do some kind of design thinking, where you can get on with people, where you can look at the community other than yourself, where you understand diversity. Now, all this is a formula that is integral to schooling over all the years that a child has been there. So there's not some magic mantra that the school will suddenly do in grade 12 and say, look, do these 5 things and you step into university. It doesn't work like that. This is an intrinsic thing which has been integrated into the consciousness of a child's mind over the years in schools, which come into use when he becomes an adult and steps into higher education.
Right. So now coming towards the end of this conversation, and definitely the parents' involvement cannot be forgotten and cannot be avoided as well. So, what your suggestions for students for preparing them for life? I'm not asking for the universities and all, but what should be how parents should prepare students from in during their education period, and when it should start it, because when they are kids, like they are in class third or fourth or fifth, every parent, like, okay, if there is any special thing, they motivate it. If there is not, they just pamper them for, okay, it's okay, nobody. But what is a specific time when parents should pay serious focus on child's preparation towards the broader life challenges?
The firstly that the ideal parent is a myth. There is no ideal parent. There can never be, because they're all
Absolutely.
human. So firstly, we should stop trying to be ideal parents. We cannot be. Secondly, I think it's important that we become mothers and fathers to children, not only their friends. They have friends. They don't really need friends. This obsession with I'm my child's friend, perhaps I'm a little conventional, but I feel it's important to be the mother and the father of the child. Otherwise, we are diluting our relationships. A child goes to a friend, a child goes to his peer for a certain concept, for a certain understanding. A child goes to a mother or a father for something else. So I think firstly we have to understand what is my role in the life of a child. What am I supposed to do? Which way am I supposed to go where the child is or becomes the best potential that he has, realizes it. So I think first and foremost, we have to understand what is our value system. What is our own value system? Because we are constantly, as parents, fixating on the value system that we feel society is depicting to us and reflecting to us. So I think there is a certain universal value system on what should be and what should not be. And I think this starts from a very young age, that we have to stop creating this culture of only consumerism in our minds of our children. And we have to tell the child that if you're consuming, you must learn to create. You can't just keep swallowing things, whether it's knowledge, whether it's food, whether it's products. If you're doing it and if you feel you have a right to it, then you also have an obligation to create something. Whether you create a case study, you create a project, you create an app, you think out of the box. So a parent has to encourage children for thinking out of the box, for being creative. He should start this whole exercise from nursery. You don't have to be waiting for it in the middle years. So if in the nursery, you're looking at the way that creativity happens, let the child create his own photograph book, let him create his own diary, let him create his own little journal, let him create a little toy. So the child realizes that if I need to be useful to society, I must create. Only then will you develop a spirit of entrepreneurship. Only then will you develop a spirit of curiosity and research. The other thing is that the child, if there are 5 times you have to cater to a child's request, if you have to say 5 yeses, then the child must also learn to hear no. So 2 yeses and perhaps 3 nos. Today, parents, for whatever reasons, do not say no to their children.
Correct.
Either they're afraid of them, they're held hostage by them, they're scared of them. In the senior years, they're scared of them. वो क्या कर लेगा वो? क्यों करेगा भाई? अगर आपने ठीक से परवरिश दी है तो वो क्यों करेगा इस तरह से? So I often feel that the kind of things that happen to children and when they damage themselves is perhaps because we have not strengthened their emotions. We have not helped them to understand what is resilience. What is resilience? So I think the lessons that parents need to do is teach a child to be creative, build up resilience and strength in the child. Say no on several occasions. So every time the child doesn't feel I have to have my way. Because you also know, Chetanji, you're an adult. How often do you hear a yes in the adult world from your boss or from even people who you relate with? You don't. So you're not going to crack up, right? You're not going to crack up. But children start cracking up. If you're going to constantly tell them that, then they will feel that they're entitled. I'm talking about the children who are listening, who are from very privileged homes. They feel entitled. Today, even middle class parents allow their children to feel entitled. Why? Were we entitled? We were not. So it
No.
has nothing to do with society has changed. No, society may have changed, has become technologically savvy, may have had more stuff around, more attractions, more distractions. But the basic value system remains the same. So the privilege, the entitlement, if I must have the Mercedes, I must have this brand. That's why I said, no, first the parent has to view his own system. Is he very brand oriented or she very brand oriented herself? The child will also become the same. So I think it's a question of how do we balance uh, the idea of intelligence with understanding of consciousness. Intelligence is, how to solve a problem, how to discover something, how to ask the right question. And consciousness is a deeper reflection about yourself. If I'm solving this problem, why am I solving it? I'm only doing it for myself. Am I doing it for somebody else? Does this problem make any sense? Is this a good or a bad? I mean, we have to give that much of understanding to children that they question things. And they question mostly themselves first. But the inner consciousness of a human being can only happen with a child if the parent questions himself and asks, what is it that I value more? So ultimately, children in many ways are reflection of their parents, or what they think, or what they do, or how they behave. Because for a child, a parent is the ideal. A parent is the ideal. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely, absolutely, ma'am. So coming towards the end, so I would like to request you for an advice for a parent as well as for the students for coming board examination as well as their future life. For specifically for parents, I would like to request you for such parents because a couple of days back I was just scrolling one article and there were certain questions which were asked from a certain parent that which is the good age for us to start our children preparing for IIT entrance examinations. Some good user, some other users just ask in which class your child is. So he said he is in class one. So there are certain overthinking parents as well, those who think this way as well. So just request you to please share your advice for the parents as well as students, just keeping such thoughts as well in mind.
I think overthinking is the crisis of our times. It's an existential crisis. And this obsession with it, and also the fact that it's so tragic that we have stepped into such a different kind of a world. Things have changed so much around us. The kind of careers that are being looked at are so different, and yet we're just fixated on this business of class one se IIT karenge. I mean, we don't even know whether IIT in the context of the IIT will exist by the time the child leaves school.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I'm not saying that the IIT system will collapse, but who knows what it will be? Who
There will
knows
be
what kind of how engineering will pan out? How will AI look at engineering? How will AI look at life and consciousness? We don't know, because let's be very clear. What the parent has to get the child ready for, and actually he should overthink this. He should overthink this is, okay, how do I make a child a productive, creative, good human being? How do I do that? Do I do that by sending him to coaching from class one for IIT, which God knows what is it going to be? Or how am I going to create that child who brushes his brains? We're always brushing our teeth, but we don't brush our brains. And brain brushing is about developing the imagination of a child. Develop the child's imagination at a very young age. Ask him ungoogleable questions. Find out how the child is thinking. What are his or her reflections? So see that the child is using not only his hands on a computer, but his body on the field and his mind. So I think the parent has to now look at a communication between the spirit, the mind, and the body. All these combination of these three things will prevent him from freaking out that I've got to go and do IIT from grade one. And ultimately, I want to ask that parent, did you get grade one in IIT? Did your father send you to a coaching center for IIT? And why IIT? Why anything? Today, you don't know, half the doctors who are getting ready may be redundant if they're not connected to technology.
correct.
So there has to be a blend between technology and intelligence, between consciousness and technology, consciousness and intelligence, technology and intelligence. How do you ride that fine balance? I mean, why should you dump even Chat GPT? You should use it as a tool, without, I mean, you have all the apps for preventing plagiarism. So you know when a person has just taken out matter from Chat GPT and given it to you, because you have enough programs on your thing to find out whether it is plagiarized. but use the things which are coming to you as tools or as agents of change, and let the child use these things and go forward. So that's what I personally feel.
Your piece of advice for students as well.
For students, it is just a juxtaposition that, you're living in such fantastic times. I feel that I wish I was born now. I mean, they are going to be the alpha beta children. And who
Yes,
are these alpha beta children? The beta children are not even born. The alpha children are 7 years old, right?
correct.
So the alpha beta generation is a fantastic generation. It's a generation that can actually change the world. And nowhere in the history of mankind have there been so many youth protests, so many youth programs, so many youth uprisings as I've seen today. The young of today are extremely powerful in what they want. And particularly, I've noticed they're very sensitive to people. I mean, if you look at Arab Spring, it was a youth movement. If you look at Black Lives Matter, it was a youth movement. So
Right.
youth movements today, and if the way the generation pans out, and they start caring for the other, they understand diversity, they understand connections. Though right now the worlds are working in silos, they are so independent. Everybody's wanting to do their own thing. But I think the young today are really people who are going to find a very wonderful future if they're able to blend this understanding of humanity with technology.
Thank you, ma'am. It was wonderful interaction, and I'm really feel privileged that I interacted with you and gotten so much of insights. And I'm sure whomsoever is watching us across globe, they will also get enlightened from your views and thoughts. So from side of EduTV, I thank you. I
Thank you.
thank Pranavji. I thank Tanya ma'am for organizing this and giving me this opportunity to interact with you and to learn your insights. So I'm heartily thankful to you, ma'am. Thank you from
Thank
my
you,
side, ma'am.
Charanji, for your very interesting questions, because
Thank you.
actually the answers can be boring, but the questions are interesting. The
Thank you,
question is the
ma'am.
best. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tanya. God bless you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, ma'am.
Thank
And from EduTV, we wish all the students best of luck for their board examinations. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Amita, ma'am.